All right, welcome everybody back to Beyond the Books, the show where we help you survive and thrive during, before, and after college. We are joined by such an amazing guest today, and I'm really excited because this will be our final capstone to our 30, 60, 90 series. We are joined today by Shivam, who is stay with me here. Long resume. I'm going to walk through this as quickly and as accurately as I can. Engineering director now at NVIDIA, previous engineering director at Google, stints at Salesforce, Deloitte, other firms, the co host of an amazing podcast that everyone should check out, Real Women in Tech. You were just recently a speaker at Grace Hopper. Congrats. I saw that.
Thank you.
You are a very thoughtful LinkedIn poster between haikus and your Substack, and you're a personal mentor of mine. So, welcome to the show. We are very, very honored to have you here, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Ben. I am very proud of you. As a mentor, I will start there. And I'm so glad you're doing this. This is a great way to give back to the community.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we were just talking before we hit record that, this set of topics is really critical and it's probably one that's underrepresented, which is why we wanted to dive into this and invite you and invite the perspective you have as an executive and as a leader and as a mentor and manager of teams. And before we get into, how to set yourself up for success in the early stages, I'd love to bring you back. I know you love reflecting, so bring you back to your first job and tell us, what you remember about that and what reflections you have from that first role.
Wow. That is jogging memories 19, 20 years ago, I guess. But yeah, I actually started in consulting, technology consulting. And little did I know about it. It is just a business case competition that I was a part of. And there
Hmm.
were some prospective employers who were on the panel. And we won, my teammate and we won this contest. And I got my first job, which was you're going to be a business consultant working with Disney on
Okay.
on a project. So I was supposed to shadow this very seasoned business system analysis manager who was scoping a project. So as consulting projects go, you first go in to do a discovery, then you go into a design phase, you come up to a proposal. If the proposal is accepted by the client, you go into execution. So I was shadowing this leader on the discovery phase for a project with Disney. Um, to fast track, I actually went from shadowing him on the discovery project to being the lead project manager on the project that we eventually sold within 9 months. So, yes, that was a very long time ago, but a very fantastic experience.
Awesome. Awesome. No, thank you for sharing. And in thinking back, I wanted to ask you, just zooming out in your broader career, any takeaways you have or that you learned in that first experience, pitching, then executing, then leading, and just anything that you can remember about how it set you on your course, or maybe wasn't relevant towards your course and kind of where you are today.
Oh, that's fantastic. I actually think about those days a lot. You'd be
Okay.
surprised
Of
because I
course.
do think that the seeds were planted back then. The first thing I learned is how to be fearless, right? Because when you're starting right out of college and you're joining this organization and you're in the company of these really, well seasoned professionals, you can doubt yourself and be
Yeah.
like, maybe what I'm going to just say is not going to be relevant to them. Um, and I realized in the first few interactions that whatever I was saying was relevant to them, and so that just gave me this I would say unprecedented amount of fearlessness, which I've never been able to control since then. So that's it stayed with me. And you and I have been in enough meetings where I've said the obvious and got myself in trouble, but not really. Nobody came after my job because I said the truth. So fearlessness was definitely something I learned on the job. I'll tell you this. There's another part of this which is straight to true to your ethics. You very early
Yeah.
know what your values are, and they start coming out in your first job. um, I was in a very interesting meeting with one of the project partners, and she was a very seasoned individual. So think of it like I'm in my early 20s and she was in her late 50s at the time. So I am sort of like a prodigy at that point, taking some notes for her and getting ready for the next meeting. And one of her male counterparts, who was on the client side, actually storms into the room and starts using this profusive language.
Mm,
And I was very uncomfortable because it was like, first of all, like, why are we? This is a professional workspace, and the
right.
bombs keep dropping. And I remember getting so uncomfortable in that situation that I stood up and I said, I will need to excuse myself because I'm getting extremely uncomfortable hearing the language that is being used here. And both the leaders caught themselves in the gods. Like they were just like, no, you stay. We need to change. And so they told me to stay. Do not. We're using the wrong language, talking about people we work with in a way we shouldn't.
Right.
And I think that I realized that I'd never want to wear a skin or a mask when I go into a
Yes.
workplace. And as a new grad, I think that was a wonderful exposure that I got.
That's awesome. And yeah, like you said, it's taxing. It's taxing to be someone you're not. And it's just that much easier to navigate the seas of change when you're starting a new job and then you're also trying to like be someone you're not. So I love the point about the ethics and I certainly love the point about the fearlessness. And I think this segues nicely into the first question that I have for you that's really relevant to this topic, which is from your experience, how critical are those first, 30, 60, 90 days and so we can start there, and then I've got some follow up questions for you, depending on how you answer.
Very. And I mean, you knew it before bringing me to the show that I'm a type A. So I still believe in I still believe in
Yeah,
leaving your good impressions in the first
yeah,
30 days. Your first meeting, your first interaction with your peers and your stakeholders and your leaders. Every word matters. Every the way you show up will matter. Are
yeah,
you on time? Like that's a very
yeah,
simple. Like
yeah,
I noticed that. Are you on time? Do I have to like in Teams as a feature? You have to call in. Did I need to call you into the meeting, or were you there? Um, so I think the first 30 days are really about landing that impression,
hmm,
and that impression. Since you're a new grad, we're not expecting you to be an expert, right?
right.
I just want you to come into the fold and be a part of the tribe, and show up. Show up with energy, with enthusiasm, and curiosity. I still remember nine. Oh my God, this is dating myself. Probably 11 years ago at this point, when I joined Google. Right, I was not joining as a new grad, but even then, um, first week or so, we were about to launch Project Fi, which turned out to be the Google Fi
Yeah,
project that we did. Um, and I was in the stand-up meeting for that project, right? From a support perspective, the stand-up meeting that was there, and I was just catching up of like what's going on, and I remember saying, "Well, this testing plan is very inconsistent and it's not thorough. We should do something more about it." And I remember my manager looking at me and he's like, "And how long have you been on the job?" I was like, "Fourth day," but it is, So again, you have to measure, your opinions in a certain way.
right.
But it does matter how you show up. It matters what is the excitement that you bring to projects. I look in my team, whenever I'm looking at interns who come and join us, or even fresh grads, I lean on them to bring that energy
Yeah,
to the
yeah, yeah,
floor,
yeah,
right? All of us here have like pick the school drop-offs in the morning, and we're like rolling into the office, but there are people who are already there. They jump started the day with excitement, and they just the courage to ask
yeah.
questions, the capacity to learn. That leaves an impression in the first 30 days. So you don't have to go and fix problems. Don't be under
Right,
so much
right, right,
stress
right.
to try solve world hunger in the first 30 days, but just show up authentically
Hmm.
with a lot of energy, with a lot of intention and courage, and that
Yeah.
will go a long.
That's awesome. That and very consistent with what you said about what you learned yourself, right? In your first role. I'd love to organize what you were saying into things that people may need to prepare for and things that just come free, right? Like showing
Mm.
up with that excitement and curiosity, that's free. Everyone can do that. It doesn't take a lot. That energy. Not everyone is a type A, but you can even be involved without having to be bouncing off the walls or anything. One idea is just to ask a thoughtful question, like not a silly question that you can just read by reading the pre-work, but asking those thoughtful questions if you're not ready quite yet to like challenge the testing plan, but just say like, have we thought of X, Y, and Z that may be a gap like that. There are ways, but I'd love to direct your wisdom into areas of preparation. What
Mm.
are some areas that these new grads, these new joiners, even forget the grad part, you're just joining a new team. What can they do in terms of preparation to then show up to someone like yourself to be noticed as, this individual is engaged, she's really like ready to go, and I'm sensing that from her. Like, what are some of those things that folks can do to be prepared and stay ready?
That's a great question. It's a great question, and it's going to go on to that balance of the soft skills and the hard skills that we have to curate throughout our careers. So, and really, it goes into both the buckets, right? You can even prepare for the soft side of this
Totally.
equation. So, let's go there first, right? When you join an organization, you have to start with understanding who the major players are, right? Who are your stakeholders? Who are the decision makers? Who are the nagging nannies? Who are the right?
There's always some, for sure. Yeah.
There always will be. I mean, they're just
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
show up. So you want to know when you know, and all of this is going to help you. So when you need to present your first PRD, or when you are committing your first CL, all of those personalities are going to show up around you. And if you're prepared, and you have read the room, you've read the floor, you understand who the key decision makers are, what are the principles on which they make the decisions, what is the background of the people that you're interacting with,
Yeah.
is everybody a domain expert, right? And they expect that when you come in, you're expected to contribute in that way. So read the room, read the floor,
Hmm.
look at the org chart, go to your team's equivalent, whatever,
Yeah.
and just see who reports to who, and what is it a very
Yeah.
dense org chart, is it a very top down organization, or is it a bottoms up organization? Understand the people dynamics is going to go a long way, because not everybody is going to welcome your energy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just the reality of it. So, being able to understand your stakeholders, and I won't go so far as creating stakeholder maps in at that age,
Right.
which
Right.
is
Right.
where just
Right.
go and start observing, and start building those bridges, those trustful
Hmm.
connections. And sometimes it's just like you admire somebody. You'd be surprised. When I moved from Google to NVIDIA, I'd forgotten how you would just get approached by people you would consider strangers. You've never met them. They just
Hmm.
heard you present in a meeting. And at NVIDIA, we do a lot of large forums where you have opportunities of speaking to like 400 to 1,000 people at a
Wow.
time.
Cool.
And when that happens, people will take notice, and they'll just come in and they'll say, "Hey, can we set up a walking one-on-one maybe once a month? I'd love to learn your style of communication." And I was just like, whoa, whoa, this never happened at Google. Why is this
Yeah.
happening
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
It happens quite a
That's
lot.
cool.
But stuff like that, right? Where you might observe certain leaders that you're gravitating towards, you like their style, you want to learn more about some context of the organization, reach
Yeah.
out. Maybe starts saying is like, "Hey, I'm new, I'm trying to learn, and it'd be great to catch up a cup of coffee and learn more about your journey." Right?
Yeah.
Be curious. Just catch up and start to build those bridges, those connections. Um, on the hard side, right? On the hard skill side, uh, I think I just love the world we live in, Ben. I just think that even in the last 18 months since you and I were working on projects together, the world has evolved to this, it has become smaller,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
knowledge is so much more accessible that you don't need to be an expert in anything. You can go to
Right.
ChatGPT or Perplexity or Gemini, whatever tool of your choice, and you can and the expectation is that not you're going to become an expert in no time, but you can learn very quickly and ramp yourself very quickly on topics that might be pertaining to your work. So just general reading up
Yeah.
on what's going on, right? Let's say you joined an organization, they're let's say it's an IT organization, it's corporate engineering. What are the kind of systems that this team has? Start by asking those questions, right? um, Maybe you can go to the enterprise search which is available like MoMA at Google,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. The internets. Yeah.
internets, and find information about
Yeah.
your team. You in fact, AI has made it so nice that you can even see, okay, your team is working on these particular areas, right? So, yeah, here are the documents written
Yeah. Yeah.
by
Yep. Yep.
in your vicinity in the last, right? That would be a great resource to say, oh, I want to find out what's happening in Shivam's org.
Yeah.
Just go to your enterprise search and read any of the documents that were published in the last 30 days, and you'll catch up onto the vibe of like, oh, we are building a enterprise search within the company, or we are working on content intelligence in the company. So doing some limited research,
Hmm.
again, but not with the goal of becoming an expert, right? And I keep saying that as in your first 30 to 60 days, you're not trying to tell people that I'm the expert and so everybody come to me,
Right.
right? You are the sponge which is going to
Mhm.
absorb. So absorb as much of the soft side of the vibes of the company, the
Yeah,
culture,
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
things, and the hard things of like what's happening, what are the critical projects that we work on.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I may add, I think both the soft and the hard can actually coalesce together and help you deliver exponential impact. So, like, just one example of this is if you are courageous and you feel like you can kind of stand up and maybe ask a question in that forum, well, when you reach out to Shivam a couple of days later, you can say, "Hey, I asked that question. You provided a thought." Now, Shivam not only remembers you, but says, "Oh, wow, that was a great question to ask." You're that much more likely to commit some time. You would do that anyway, but you would now you're like, oh well, this person knows something. I should chat with them. And then
Yeah.
later, I think the real cherry on top is coming back a couple months later and said, hey, remember that advice you gave me? Remember that thing we talked about? I'm new, but that was really helpful and I used it. And I would love to share that back to you because not only gives you Shivam the mentor, the manager that okay this person like is understanding digesting and using it, but it's also good feedback for you like well I'm going to tell more people because that someone that came and told me that that was helpful. So in a way you're almost like paying back the guidance that
Thank
you're
you.
asking for in a new
Yeah.
team. And just a personal application of mine with the AI and not being an expert on the hard skills side. I work in technology. I'm not an AI expert. But one thing that I saw was everyone on my team is way too busy putting out fires or trying to like get a project over the line. I was looking around, I was like, I think I'm the only person that has a little bit of free time. So I started just taking as much deep learning AI classes that I can with Andrew Ning. He's great. I love it. Super, super easy to digest. And through that, I started creating these like little mini summaries and notes about agentic AI, societies or crews of agentic AIs. Still not the expert, just parroting what he's giving us. But that actually became the foundation to folks being like, oh, if you want to talk, if you want to do something AI, talk to Ben first, because like he's starting to build that fluency. And then it
Very
coalesced into like I found myself presenting to like 50 people on like a business process team about like the basics of AI. And I kept saying, I'm not the expert, but when you look around the room, one thing as a new or semi-new, in my case, employee or like team member is like you may have the gift of time that other people who are committed to bodies of work, to bodies of delivery and response, just don't. And so that's another way that you can add value to the overall team and then build influence, expertise, and trust in that way, simply by just being proactive and volunteering your time.
Yeah. One thing I'll add to that, I often say this to people who join my organization new, that you have this unfair advantage for the next few months. It's not going to last long to not be jaded.
Yeah, that's right.
You're going to see the world from a lens of you're still somewhere in the middle of your old company and your new company, and you are going to objectively review how we do things.
Yeah.
So I often would reach out to them in their first month and say, what are we doing wrong?" And they get shocked. They're like, "Why is this director of engineering asking like what you're wrong?" It's like, they want to know what's wrong. I mean, that's my
Yeah.
job to fix what's broken. So and many people are not ready for that. But I think that muscle of
Yeah.
I am seeing this new world from a lens that these people haven't been seeing because they've been living this world for so long is priceless to a leader. It's priceless to me when somebody comes and says, I feel like people are not psychologically safe. And you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, really? Tell
Yeah.
me more. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's and yeah, again, those things are the things that we're talking about that don't require some MBA for you to understand. Like you can step into a team, and if someone's asking you that, that's even easier. But if someone's even not asking you, just being able to step forward and try to help the overall improvement of the team, whether that be from a cultural perspective, from an actual delivery perspective, from just improving something that plagues the team that you have the gift of time to go and address. And I think like this segues into the other topic that I want to. So going from like the tactical advice and feedback, kind of back up philosophically to yourself as a leader of people, which is when you take a step back and you think about high performing employees and teams, what are these traits, attributes, or habits that new joiners can bring to an existing team versus the existing culture just being, top down onto it? What are some of those things that you would love to see in new joiners that can then contribute to the culture?
Oh, yes. I think I mentioned before we hit record that I'm doing a lot of hiring in this team in trying to, bring upskill some of the existing talent and bring in new skills. So it's very pertinent. Um, let's break this down. I think the first thing is the curiosity
Hmm.
without judgment.
Okay.
Right? Any tenured hire, anybody who's spent like even 3 years in an industry and then switches a job, you're gonna start with judgment. It's like in my previous company, we used to do things this way.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Um, be curious and say, I'm curious how we do this.
Yeah.
Just forget the part of how it was done before. Don't worry.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
we'll reserve that. We'll get to that too. But curious, why? Ask the whys. Go down to the five whys because you have that again, and it's a strategic advantage you have for the next few months to be the new guy, the new gal who can ask all those whys, and nobody will say like, "Why is she asking that?" Right? It's a so keep stay curious. Be very curious when you join and ask questions and the second thing I'd say is build relationships,
Hmm.
right? Build relationships. They go a long way. Um, you know, especially in the tech world, one of the things that I sorely miss about Google, I think, is that where we all were Google employees were bound by some unsaid faith or bond, which I don't know what it was, but there was that, and then came the projects.
Yep.
Right? It's not
Yep.
like
Yep.
there was
Yep.
a project and then the Googlers got together.
Yep.
And it wasn't like that. It was like we're all Googlers. Hey, we happen to have this project. Let's collaborate on it. So there was this shared value system that we had, and then that helped us collaborate on projects faster.
Hmm.
That is tough to replicate. It's not always how companies are built. So build that network for yourself. Build that relationship so that when you are working with those people,
Yeah.
it's you're just leaning in onto that camaraderie that you've just built with them to go the next mile. So build relationships, invest in your relationships. um, the third thing I would say is this is a difficult one. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because I say raise your hand to solve the tough problems, and then people say, well, then am I signing up for too much?
Yeah. Yeah. All of a sudden, I have double the workload that I can
Right,
handle
all of a
because I'm
sudden I
like,
have
oh,
that.
I've got free time. And everyone's like, I bet you do. Not anymore.
Yeah, yeah. So be mindful. I think I still, even at this age, I don't think I do that job really well. I just see a problem and like, oh my God, we are that broken. We gotta fix this. Like
Yeah.
in my hand goes up, whether I have the time or not, or if it's gonna be 250% of
Right.
my time. I don't know. So I think that's something that people should think about and be considerate about, of course, your bandwidth and your work-life balance and all of those things. But raise your hand. I
Yeah.
want you to be curious. I'll, there's somebody who joined my team, um, and I knew they had a certain skill set which will come in handy in other areas. And we were having a very massive outage, and an incident, and I was on the call, and I was like, who can I pull in who can actually give additional set of hands to the person who was leading charge? And I thought of this individual, and it was such a humbling experience. I just pinged this person on Slack. It's a Sunday; they're not supposed to even respond, and
Mm.
like, I'm sorry if this doesn't work out. That's great, but can you help us? On this particular outage, and this person jumped on. And I'm not encouraging people to work weekends. It's something which I wouldn't
Yeah. Yeah.
want
Yeah.
start off their careers or wouldn't be thinking this is how life is. Although it's been pretty crazy lately.
I can
If you
imagine.
could have seen around them. Um, but it's like just jump in, and this person just smoothly jumped in, no hang-ups. They, in fact, within 3 hours they were actually manning the entire outage, and I
Amazing.
was just surprised. I was like, wow, that's for a new joiner who knows not a lot of context of like why we're in the situation. They, sure, of course, I reached out to them, so they were kind of getting voluntold, but attitude matters. I reached
Right.
out to the person that thought would jump in, right? So
Yeah.
how think of reverse track to how did the person show up for me? I was like, he's a subject matter expert. I know I can lean on them, bring that forward.
That's awesome. And I think it speaks to also the attitude to step up to meet the moment. It's one thing to be called on and you're like dragging your feet. And even if you get it done, like leaders can tell when you're dragging your feet, you're unhappy and you're just doing it because you've been told to, voluntold to do it. But there are other ways to navigate that particular, crisis and say, no, I can meet the moment either through my attitude or through saying, this is not a problem. I recognize the trust you're providing me to deal with the situation. And then it gives you the leader free time to go chase other problems because it's not the only problem you've got to deal with. And that has real value, I think, in building that rapport with your leadership stakeholders. And again, something that is fairly easy to do is just like have the right attitude. So I love that you brought that up. And so as we wrap up, I do want to touch on a specific, like now we're zooming back into a specific group of folks because you are the co-host of a podcast about women in tech. And I'd love to ask you, is there any intersectionality or any specific feedback for onboarding in a team or a culture or a company of which you look around and you're like, hang on, I'm in the minority, whatever minority means to you? It could be I'm the only non-tech person. I'm one of few women. It can be I'm the only non-US based person in the room, virtual room. Like any advice you have on navigating some of those additional complexities on top of just drinking from the fire hose, merging onto the freeway when everyone's going 100 miles an hour, and any advice you have on that topic?
Oh, that's a lovely question. I think it goes back to being fearless.
Mm-hmm.
Right, it just goes back to being that, because fears come in different forms. There
Right.
are external fears and internal fears. So
Mm-hmm.
most of us in the minority side, we have as many internal fears as external fears.
Yeah.
Um, I did many things at Google. I managed engineers, but I did not have the title of an engineering, manager. Let's be honest. So when I took my job at NVIDIA, and it is an engineering director role, um, I definitely had that notion within myself, and in saying, I know leadership transcends domain. I have no doubt I'm going to ace this role,
Absolutely.
but I'm going to show up with the courage and the intellectual honesty that this role requires,
Right.
to not be the one who knows everything, because let's be honest, I haven't coded for at least 15 years. Although I did have a manager in the middle who wanted me to, and I did it for him. And if he ever listens to this, he's going to remember that. I still am a big fan of his. I was in Chicago. I called him up and said, "How you doing?"
Nice. Nice.
Um, but you show up with authenticity. You show up with
Mm-hmm.
courage. You show up with um, the confidence that I may be an anomaly, but I am here.
Yes. Right.
Right? There was this a participant who was on our show, LP Peterson from Apple, and she said, sometimes I look at imposter and say, who's going to show up here? I'm already here. And I
Right.
loved
Right.
it. Like imposter syndrome. Who are you? I am here
Right.
already. I've
Right.
landed. And I loved it. I often think of her, and the way she said it was just so amazing. So yeah, be careful of your internal fears and your external fears. Your
Right.
internal fears, you need to combat them with, of course, the confidence and the courage, and faith and belief in you bring something to the table. You belong here. That's why they wanted you to do this,
Yeah.
right? They are not fools just who made a decision to just say, let's have Shivam do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So just have faith in the process that got you to the position that you are, and if you show up with courage, you will be received with that,
That's right.
right? So
Right.
if you show up with doubt, then you're going to face the doubt
That's
of
right.
others around. It's a mirror at the end of the day. So it's really, the world is a reflection of you in the mirror. It will show up for you how you show up. So whether you're a minority, whether you're a woman in amongst men, or a non-engineer amongst engineers, or a product person with amongst engineers, uh, bring your intellectual honesty to the
Yeah.
core, and just say, here I am showing up, and I'm here already. So where is the doubt?
Love
Um,
it.
yeah, yeah. And about the external fears, which will be there, right? Because let's be honest, we live in a society that has to mature equally, and it isn't, right? So you will show up in circles where people will talk about. It actually happened to me at Google. I remember one of my managers at Google, and I wasn't the only woman in the room, but he did mention is that, oh, in this job you can actually go home at 3 o'clock. And I was like, why is that a bar for me? Because I would
Yeah.
like to go home at 3 o'clock to because I'm the pickup duty.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Would you say that to a man?
Yeah.
My intro to the team is, welcome, you're going to do great here, and by the way, you can. So there will be these external factors that will
Right.
induce that disparity in you. But and my point, and I don't think I was ever the person who left at 3 o'clock ever in any job. And I do believe that this individual actually did leave at 3 o'clock. So it's like the joke is on them, not on me.
Yeah.
So
He's like, I got pickup. I got to go at 3. You could stay.
you could say, I mean,
Yeah.
my husband shares duties with
Funny.
me, so
That's
we got it.
awesome.
So My only thing is stay true to yourself. There is no skin, there is no mask. Those masks will have to come out eventually. So
Yeah.
don't enter the field with that, and calm your internal fears and face those external fears with your authenticity and your courage. You can combat it.
That's awesome. And the thing I love most about this piece of advice is it actually doesn't differ from the general advice for the population, but there is an acknowledgement that there are more fears, complexities, and the hurdles that you may have to go through. But like the approach and the process is not any different, and neither will be the outcome if you lead with that courage. And the acknowledgement, right? Of like sometimes if you feel like you're in the minority, there's also a humility of learning from the group in a way that helps kind of strengthen your understanding of them, which sometimes leads to their understanding of you. So I just love kind of like that humility that you tie in with everything. And so this has been a great conversation, Shivam. Really appreciate this lens that you bring forth from the leadership level, from that humility level, from that courage. I think like just giving people the space to have courage is something that I've talked to a lot of new grads through Boba Talks and through mentorship. Like it just that's something that kind of isn't there all the time, and just giving permission for folks to recognizing they aren't courageous yet, but that they have it in them to kind of meet that moment. That's awesome. And my final question to you is you do so much for the community, you do so much, you post often. Where can people find you to learn more about you, to hear about those haikus that you've got every once in a while? Tell the audience, how they can get more exposure to what you do and what you bring.
Oh boy, nothing structured. I think LinkedIn is the best place to contact me. That is really where all the haikus show up, and so do the unfiltered opinions on this happened today, and so let's reflect on it. And
Yeah.
uh, also anything that's happening in the society, which compels me to write. I think you know I think there was a post recently, you might have seen it on LinkedIn, which is like, if you the reason I overshare is because I believe that this will build a community of people that I want to be surrounded by, because
Yeah.
this content will bring those people to me. Like, you came to me for us to do this
Yeah.
podcast, and we stayed in the orbit together. So um, I do not uh, block LinkedIn requests. Somebody asked me yesterday at a Google event, and they're like, "Are you follow or are you connect?" And I was like, "I don't even know the difference." And they're like, "Well, you follow
Right.
because you get a lot of requests from people to to connect." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Very interesting. I should write to LinkedIn and say this should be my choice, not yours. I want to connect with every individual. Why are you making them follow me when I want to
Yeah.
connect
Yeah.
with them?"
Yeah.
By default, right? That shouldn't be a setting. So I'm happy to connect with folks on LinkedIn, like I said, and that's the best place where you will see all my content come through. And if that changes
Awesome.
in the future, I'll post that on LinkedIn too. So
There you go. And your podcasts are connected, so people can find the Real Women in Tech on your LinkedIn profile as well.
yeah.
We will link her LinkedIn and her work in the description here. But Shivam, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for gracing us with all the wisdom, and really appreciate always kind of staying in touch with you.
Thank you so much. A very good luck to you and all the viewers and all the listeners on the podcast of all that is ahead of them. And like I said, I'm really proud of you, Ben. You've gone
Thank
places.
you.
Good job.
Thank you. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a good one.